We've been talking the last 2 days about Gimel Tammuz, about the Rebbe being with us, the Rebbe being alive, the Rebbe continuing to lead us, the Rebbe continuing to guide us, the Rebbe continuing to answer us, the Rebbe continues to be involved in every minute detail of our lives. Interesting words, but you know what? A story is what makes it living, what makes it concrete. So I want to share with you a fascinating story that I just heard 2 days ago. But before I share it with you, Tehillim, thank you Hashem. Mizmor l'soida. Ari l'adene kol haaretz ivdu es adene b'simcha bo lefanav v'nana. Du k'adene elim hu asana v'lo anachna v'tzal marisai. Bo yishor b'soida chatzrois b'sila hoyde lebachush. Bo ki toiv adene le'olam chazda v'yad doir v'dor emunasai. Let's give some tzedakah, my dear friends. Pushka, and here is the story. Since Gimel Tammuz, where we don't have the opportunity to ask the Rebbe personally or write a personal letter to the Rebbe for the Rebbe to answer in writing or verbally, what many Chassidim and non-Chassidim do, we write the letter addressed to the Rebbe and we put it into one of the Rebbe's books of correspondence called Igros Kodesh, Letters of the Rebbe. They're in Hebrew, they're translated in English, they're in French, whatever language you're comfortable with. And we put it in at random, and then we check what does it say on that page to see what the Rebbe answers. Listen to that story. A young woman, wasn't Jewish, but for 26 years she was passing on the street where there's a picture of the Rebbe, and every day she would stop and tell Rebbe, today I'm going to be a good person. After all these years, she decided, I want to become Jewish. She did a proper conversion, 100% halachic proper conversion. After a conversion, she got engaged to a nice Jewish person, planning the wedding. She had that feeling. She wants to get married at the Kotel, in Yerushalayim, by the Western Wall. Never heard of weddings taking place there, but everything could be arranged. The groom, the chassan, would love to do it too, but he has a concern. He has an elderly father, frail, who would very much want to be at the wedding, but he won't be able to travel. So he is torn. She wants in Israel. They live here in Montreal. He would want his father to be present. The father wants to be present. So somebody suggested to them, write a letter to the Rebbe. So she writes a letter. She writes it in French, puts it in one of the Rebbe's books. Somebody explains to her what the Rebbe writes over there. And in that letter, the Rebbe writes all about the importance of honoring your parents. Kibud Av. The importance of Kibud Av. Quite a clear answer that respect his father. But she's not comfortable with the answer. She's not content. She says, I think the Rebbe didn't answer me because I'm a convert. I tell her, there's no such a thing. I want he should write. He's Jewish from birth, he should write. He meaning the chassan, the groom. He writes. Also in French. That's his language. Puts it into another book, another volume, and there once again, all about kibud av, respecting your father. Okay, she comes back to the person who encouraged her to do that. And she says, the Rebbe didn't answer me, I guess because we wrote in French. She says, the Rebbe answered you, maybe didn't answer you what you want to hear, but he definitely answered you that you should make the wedding over here for your father-in-law to be able to be present. She says, you know, maybe because we're all in French, maybe you're right in Hebrew. He wasn't comfortable. You read it all twice. The Rebbe answered, you read it twice. But she insisted and insisted. He didn't want to have the convert not feel good. He wrote again. You won't believe the answer from the Rebbe. And he wrote exactly the question, and he writes it, and puts it in another volume. And there the Rebbe writes in the beginning of the page, I speak and I write French. I don't need anyone to translate the letters for me. And then the Rebbe continues once again talking about the importance of honoring parents. So is the Rebbe here? But we want to see him. So hopefully we'll see him this Shabbos in the Beis HaMikdash, physically.